Imagine showing up to work every day, knowing your boss sees you as less than just because of the color of your skin. That was the reality for Marcus, a talented, hardworking employee determined to prove his worth despite the constant disrespect and microaggressions from his manager, Mr. Davis. Day after day, Marcus faced unfair treatment, overlooked opportunities, and outright hostility. But he refused to let it break him. Instead, he worked harder, stayed focused, and quietly planned his next move. Fast forward a few years, and the tables turned in the most unexpected way. Marcus walked into the office, but this time, he wasn't just another employee. He was the boss, and guess who was now reporting to him? The same man who once doubted him. How did this dramatic shift happen? Stick around to find out. Marcus wasn't always the confident leader people admire today. A few years ago, he was just a young man trying to make a name for himself in a corporate world that wasn't designed for him. Despite his impressive skills and relentless work ethic, he often found himself the target of Mr. Davis's snide remarks and unfair criticism. It was clear, no matter how much Marcus excelled, Mr. Davis never gave him credit. But Marcus wasn't about to let the negativity consume him. Instead, he quietly observed, learning the ins and outs of the business while building relationships with colleagues who recognized his potential. He stayed late, took on extra projects, and grew stronger with every challenge thrown his way. Still, Mr. Davis continued to underestimate him, oblivious to the storm brewing right under his nose. What happens next? Let's dive deeper. Marcus knew he couldn't confront Mr. Davis directly. In a workplace where power dynamics were stacked against him, speaking out could mean risking his job or being labeled difficult. So he channeled his frustration into quiet determination, knowing success would be the ultimate response. Meanwhile, his colleagues started noticing the contrast between Marcus's hard work and Mr. Davis's condescending behavior. Whispers began circulating, questions about why Marcus hadn't been promoted, why he wasn't leading the projects he had essentially built from the ground up. Despite this support, Marcus felt the weight of the unfair system pressing down on him. As weeks turned into months, a new opportunity presented itself, a role in another department with room for growth. But taking it would mean leaving behind his carefully built foundation. Could he risk starting over, or was there another way to rise? Marcus decided to take a leap of faith. He applied for the position in the new department, knowing it was a chance to escape Mr. Davis's shadow and finally prove his worth. But when his application was submitted, word spread fast, and Mr. Davis wasn't pleased. Suddenly, Marcus found himself assigned to impossible tasks, deadlines shortened without notice, and resources mysteriously unavailable. It was clear Mr. Davis was determined to make him fail before he could move on. Still, Marcus pressed forward, completing his projects with precision and earning the respect of others. The whispers grew louder, and even upper management began to notice the disparity between Marcus's contributions and Mr. Davis's actions. Then, out of nowhere, Marcus was called into a high-stakes meeting. Sitting across from a panel of executives, he realized this was his moment to shine, or crumble under pressure. As Marcus sat in the meeting, the atmosphere was tense. The executives weren't just asking about his work. They were questioning the leadership under Mr. Davis. It was an unexpected turn, one Marcus hadn't anticipated. They asked detailed questions about the challenges he faced, the extra hours he'd put in, and the barriers he'd overcome. Every answer Marcus gave painted a clearer picture of what had been happening under Mr. Davis's management. Just when Marcus thought the meeting was over, one executive leaned in and asked, "If given the chance, how would you lead differently?" It wasn't just a question, it was an opportunity. Marcus's heart raced, knowing this was bigger than him. His response could define not only his future, but also the culture of the company. But before he could finish, Mr. Davis stormed in, blindsided by the escalating situation. The room fell silent as Mr. Davis barged in, his face flushed with anger. "What's going on here?" he demanded, his eyes darting from Marcus to the executives. One of them calmly responded, "We're discussing the future of this team." Mr. Davis scoffed, trying to downplay the situation, but his interruptions only made things worse. Then one executive turned to Marcus and said, "You were saying." Gathering every ounce of courage, Marcus laid out his vision, how he would foster collaboration, reward hard work, and create an environment where everyone could thrive. The executives nodded, impressed. Finally, they stood up and made the announcement. Marcus was being promoted to lead the department, effective immediately. The room froze as Mr. Davis's smirk disappeared. The twist? Mr. Davis wasn't fired but reassigned, now reporting directly to Marcus. As Marcus stepped into his new role, the office atmosphere began to shift. He treated his team with respect and fairness, ensuring everyone's voice was heard. Those who had once been overlooked found new opportunities to shine under his leadership. The change was palpable, and productivity soared. Meanwhile, Mr. Davis struggled to adjust to his new reality. Reporting to Marcus forced him to confront his past actions, and though the transition was awkward at first, Marcus remained professional. Over time, even Mr. Davis began to acknowledge Marcus's leadership skills and the impact he was making. Marcus's journey proved that resilience and integrity can overcome even the toughest challenges. His story wasn't just about success. It was about turning pain into purpose and showing that real strength lies in how you choose to rise above adversity.